Hello. So, I'm going to be doing some dragon painting today. And I thought I would invite you all into my studio and you can hang out here and watch me put this together. This is going to be a couple's dragon painting, which would probably range in the about maybe $250 level, because it's couples. It's not something that I normally do, but the couple that I'm doing this for is very near and dear to my heart, and so they get sort of special treatment. This is not unusual, but it happens. So I'm going to start with getting some basic colors down on this black canvas. This is nice, smooth, like velvety black canvas. It's going to be black by the time it's done. But I kind of wanted to start with a dark color because I like the way that these dragon paintings look on the darker colors. I've got a bunch of them that I've airbrushed that I did at MissCon last couple of years. And that's been really fun. And this one is going to be bigger than those because this couple is special. Okay, yeah, this would probably be more like $300 level. It's coronavirus season, so I'll basically, I'm making all sorts of deals. But yeah, this is for my daughter and her wife, and it's going to be something of a birthday present for someone who has no idea yet that it's coming, which is always fun. My daughter commissioned me to do this the other day. And so I can't post this video online till I know that they've got it and her birthday is over and I can make it safe for everyone to see. Now right now I'm throwing some colors and just gloss medium and stuff all over this thing because I would like to get rid of the slightly over matte finish on this. It's just a little too matte for what I was hoping for. So I'm just going to take some gloss medium and rub it in here with some various dark colors, black and some phthalo green and alizarin crimson, all the Bob Ross stuff, just to give this black a little bit of life, because right now it's not really lively, it's really flat. And whenever you get these canvases that are pre-primed in another color, this is one of those, like you buy it at Michael's, pre-primed kind of canvases. They always have them really flat because I think they're basically just mixing the black with like a gesso. Gesso is generally a pretty flattening, matte sort of a agent. And if that's all it is, then the paint that you put on there is very rarely ever as flat as the gesso is. And so I don't want it to look like it's got a sort of like an unevenness. So I'm getting it all good and glossy right from the very beginning. Getting a little of that alizarin crimson worked in there. Yeah, since this is just the background, I'm not really too terribly worried about how smooth it is, because I'm going to be doing other stuff to this background too. Don't want it to be dead. Here. It's just covering every inch. I've got some colors on the brush, so it's getting on there with a little color. And of course I'm using golden acrylics. I always use golden acrylics. This is not a paid endorsement, although if Golden would like to pay me to endorse them, I will do it every day. I I love golden acrylics. I know quite a few really big artists that have told me if you're going to paint an acrylic, this is pretty much the only way to go. And I got started on them. Yes, it's probably been 18 years ago now. And I just don't even use anything else. You know, all the student brands and the craft brands and all of that. And that's great if you're painting sets for a play or something where no one's going to see it for anything less than 12 feet away. But even big pieces like murals and stuff, if you've got a mural that you really want to punch up the volume on hard, you can do a lot of it in house paints and stuff like that. I tend to do that quite a bit. But then wherever you want to really make a punctuation mark of sorts, you throw a little golden acrylic in that area for brightness, and it's amazing how effective that can be. Okay, I feel like I've got this pretty well coated. And then I'm going to take a little, where is my ultramarine blue? And I'm going to throw a little ultramarine blue in there because I know the people I'm painting for, and blue is kind of a thing for them. So a little ultramarine blue, and I'll throw some, just a tiny bit of white into, throw that, I want to give it a little bit of softness in the background right there in that center area. And my blue, there we go. The only problem with these golden acrylics is you can't really get into the tube very well. Or the jar. Sorry, not a tube. But that's because I'm using a ridiculously large brush right now, and that will change here in a minute. Make sure that's not too shiny. Oh, that's really shiny. I wonder if I can't adjust my light to make that a little less crazy. Because that's kind of, I guess that's kind of hard for you guys to make out. I don't want that to be a problem. Is that any better? Yeah, I don't know. Okay, well, it seems that the light source here is not going to be real friendly to us. So maybe I can turn this or something to, no, don't fall off. I cannot. I can have it go crashing, and let's not do that. Okay, here's the fun of painting live, is when you try and deal with little things that come up. Other things come up. All right, let me get that nice and tightened down. My wife got me this fantastic art light for out here, so I'm going to see if maybe I can adjust it to changing the value of it a little bit to, nope, okay, well, it's not going to cooperate too terribly much, but let's see how it goes. If this doesn't work, then it was an experiment well tried. All right. the things I've learned, and I learned this from a video I watched on Jerry's Artorama's YouTube channel, and I was like, okay, that's fascinating. You don't want to use water with acrylic paints. And to tell you that I was never taught that in college, it's a freaking crime. But you don't want to use water with acrylic paints. That's like a real thing. You always want to use mediums with acrylic paints. You can wash your brush off with water and stuff, and that's great. But if you put water into acrylics, it breaks the medium, it breaks the binder. And, I have a college education. Crazy stuff that they didn't tell you. I kind of think I paid for a lot of people who really didn't know what they were doing, unfortunately. I had one teacher in college that I really loved, and the rest of them, I have a feeling they were a little underqualified for what they were trying to teach. It just goes to show you really got to look for the college that you want to go to. If you're going to get an education, make sure you're going to get the education you want. Doesn't always happen. Okay. Alright, well, no ranting. I'm sure nobody needs the rant. As I said, it is coronavirus season, so we're all ranting about something these days, aren't we? Try not to bring that into the videos too much. But meanwhile, I have a tiny little sketch I did of these dragons over here on the wall in front of me where your camera view isn't going to see. But gives me a little bit of an idea of what I'm looking at, because I would normally be looking at the pictures of my daughter and her wife on my phone while I'm painting, but I can't do that if I'm recording while I'm painting. So I took 5 minutes and did a really quick rough sketch of their dragons on the side, and that will be all I've got to go off of. But I have them in my head, because that's where they end up, at least for an hour or two while I do this. And that should be good enough. Okay. Okay, this is so shiny, my light is getting in my own way. So I wonder if I can do this without it. That's going to be a little easier for the camera to see, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to see much this way. Oh, well, if I paint bright enough, I guess I can. There's that. I don't know how much of the speakers are picking up background noises, but it's just suddenly decided to pour outside, which is fun. So we haven't had rain in a couple of days. I guess that's cool. Alright, I got quiet all of a sudden on you. That wasn't my intent. I got a little focused. I'm just going to get a little bit more highlight stuff done here just to kind of figure out where everything is, and then we're going to get into doing some colory things. And I think that's where it's going to get a lot more fun. We all like the colors, right? I want to know what color the dragon is, which is always the beginning of it, right? Why do dragons come in so many colors? I have a theory about that. When dragons appear to us, they want us to like them. They want us to appreciate them and approve of them and not be frightened by them. So in a lot of cases I'm learning, I do a painting of a dragon, and a lot of people's first reactions are, oh, I love that color. Well, the dragon knows that. Like, they are aware of us in literally every possible way. So, of course they know what your favorite color is. You know, they know what you're gonna like, what you're gonna look at and say, oh, that's cool. So, they, being as mutable as they are, and as mutable as anything can be, really, that's a whole other video about what dragons are, but they want us to like them, so they become what we like. They become something that is not threatening, is not frightening, is not off-putting in any real serious way, because the goal is for us to listen to them, and for them to be able to advise us well. And the only way they can do that is if we're not afraid of what we're seeing or feeling. Thus they become friendly. Friendly is the best way to put it. They're basically not looking to become frightening to us. I have a lot of people that are like, well, dragons are scary. Why do I really want to know what thing is following me around that's scary? I don't think I've ever had anybody look at the dragon painting that I did for them and not just think, oh, I like that thing. Even if they're afraid of the idea of dragons, they've always looked at the end product and been like, oh, I like that. The dragon knows how that's going to go. There's a system of some sort going on there, you know? They get it, and they are good at presenting themselves in a way that we will appreciate. Okay. Yeah, I'm having a little bit of issues here. Oh, what is water for? Cleaning your brush off. You do want to make sure you keep your brushes good and clean when you're working with acrylics, because they will kill those brushes faster than anything. Acrylic paints are unforgiving to brushes. You use synthetic bristles for your acrylic paints. It's kind of important. But yeah, they'll shred them. So always keep them as clean as you can. Okay, I'm gonna have to turn the light back on again because I'm having a little bit of a hard time seeing some areas. I hope that's not a problem. We'll find out, I suppose. And I'm gonna be doing a couple of little detail-y things here, so I kind of gotta be able to see what I'm doing. Alright, that is an up flip there. It comes down here. And that's kind of an up flip there. Oh, full disclosure, all of my paints are golden acrylics except for my white. And why is that? It's because I don't know where my white is. It sort of vanished after Oricon, and I didn't realize that until today, or I would have ordered one, but alas, you find these things out at the last minute, and I really have to get this thing done today, so no time to wait for white. But by the same token, white's probably the one color that even these cheaper companies aren't going to mess up too badly. Yeah. So I'm not too worried about it being less bright or anything because it's white. It's going to be white. Should be fairly safe. At least I hope so. I mean, end results we'll see. And the reason I'm doing all of these little bright areas first, one, it's always fun to paint backwards. Like, so many people think you start with a white page and you start drawing dark parts on that with your pencil, you know. And that's pretty much how I was trained to do art, and how most of the people I know were trained to do art, because first thing that we had in our hands was white paper and pencils or crayons or something like that. So we had to go from light to darker, and then colors and all of that. I kind of love getting in here and doing the backwards effect, where you're starting with dark and you have to get it lighter and lighter as you go. That's taking your brain and kind of twisting it around a little bit so that you have to rethink how you're handling things a lot. I get into that. I really like the effect of forcing your brain to reevaluate how it's working when you're doing art. That's me. That's my thing. Okay. I'm just kind of washing color that's been diluted in acrylic medium a lot. This thing is, acrylics dry so fast that you can do this without having to wait too terribly long, which is why I can get away with doing this on a live video. Just kind of going over areas that I've already lightened up with the basic hue of the dragon. Rain's really coming down now. You know, this acrylic medium is fighting with me quite a bit, and I have a feeling I'm going to use a lot of it doing this technique. So I'm going to dump a bunch of it into this little cup right here. I'll leave it open in case I need it, but I need more of it than I was expecting. So I'm just going to get in here and have a nice pile of it available in my hand. Kind of at the end of the day, it's like colorizing a black and white photograph. You know, you've got all your tonal values already figured out, and then you're just going in and adding the color as an afterword. And here's the thing that I should probably be a disclaimer about what I'm doing here. I've never done this way before. This is an entirely new thing that I'm trying. And I figure, why the heck not try it in front of the world? Because if it works, cool. If not, well, you know, fall on my face and I don't care who sees, because that's the world we live in now. So far I'm liking what it's doing a lot. But it will remain to be seen if I can get that iridescent effect that dragons have in this format. I have a lot of faith in my golden acrylics. I love these guys. They're awesome. I think I'm going to be able to do it. Like I said though, this is just something I kind of thought up today, like, hey, let's try and do it this way. I bet you I can do it quick and I'll do a video. Maybe it's not as quick as I was hoping. Boy, I hope you guys can see this. I really have no idea how much of this is actually coming out on the video. It'll be a little disappointing if all you have is like a glare on there, and I finish the whole thing and look at it and it's like, oh, it's just a big glare. I don't know, should I post it anyway? Blooper art. Okay. Well, I mean, it looks like something. Okay. With the camera clamp that holds my phone in place while I'm filming, it's a little hard to see what's going on because the clamp covers up a fair portion of the screen. But I can tell that at least you're seeing light and dark stuff. So it's something. Okay, let me get all this red off of here and get some green laid down. probably also point out, I'm painting from a very awkward, like, side of the canvas angle, so that I'm not blocking the camera view if I can avoid it. I don't think I'm blocking the camera view, at least. I mean, it's hard for me to tell when I'm painting because I don't see the screen. It's facing the other direction. But, yeah, I don't normally do it from this weird angle, so I'm a little kind of hunched over trying to get in here and see what I'm doing, which is weird. But alas, we do whatever we have to do for art. That's the rule. I worked with a photographer back when I lived in Florida for a couple of days on a project, and he was always reciting this kind of a mantra. This was back when I was much more amateur. The mantra was, you do whatever you have to do for the photo. And it involved climbing some really awkward trees at times, and working in places that maybe the authorities would not like us to be. At least not taking photos of the models and stuff that we were working with in those places, because, like, you know, there are ordinances. But we didn't let it bother us. We were just like, no, we're gonna get the job done, and we're not worried about the ramifications until they are a problem. We ended up being subtle enough about it that nobody actually ever really bothered us. Yeah, and I've kind of learned over the years, if art isn't physically comfortable to deal with, like doing murals and stuff, and painting while on top of a ladder with both hands and all the crazy things, sometimes that actually makes it a lot better, because you're forced to problem solve, and art and problem solving really do go hand in hand. So, yeah, we're just gonna do whatever it takes to get the picture done and problem solve. I'm going to leave the stone area here pretty rough, because the stone is never the focus of one of these dragon things. I like having the surface that they're on. It kind of grounds them in what feels more like our world than theirs. I don't want to give it so much attention that it starts to be distracting to them. And part of the reason I chose this ground color and feel is it kind of reminds me of their backyard. They live in an area of Utah where they have a really cool mountain in their backyard. It's just gorgeous, and like literally, and it's pretty awesome. I will have to admit, one of these days I really hope to go up that mountain with it, but it's really steep and looks like a treacherous hike for me in my physical current condition. So it is a goal, not anything that I'm planning on doing very immediately. Okay, get the water off of this brush, and we're going to get in here with some other colors. Got this kind of green gold. I think it's called green gold. Yep, look at that. And this feels like it'll be a really good brightening color for some of these edges, and it's going to be a little more accurate to the actual color. Oh yeah, this is definitely more like what I was looking for the dragon. That phthalo green base was not bad, but it is definitely not the finish color for her friend here. Yeah, that's much more like it. Okay. I gotta admit, there's something very cathartic and relaxing and mind-opening about being out in my studio right now painting a dragon with all the craziness I've been seeing in the world the last couple of days. Going out into public places right now in Washington is frowned upon. Sometimes you gotta go to hit a grocery store though, and the rules out there for 6-foot distancing and everything are fantastic. And I really appreciate everybody who's doing it. And I really don't appreciate everybody who thinks it's a joke. We're not living in joke times here, guys. So being in the studio doing a dragon is like my happy zone right now, where I don't have to think about people who are doing a very bad job of protecting their fellow man. Having posted a little bit about that experience that I had this morning, I have been overwhelmed by the number of people who have come out in support and willing to help and all of that. Because I have some amazing friends. I've heard from quite a few of them today. And it reminds me that, for the most part, people are amazing. People are just awesome. I had friends that have offered to help us get supplies and stuff like that, because Gina and I could get very, very sick from this whole thing very quickly. And so we've done a very good job of staying in our own little personal space most of the time, but can't do it all the time. And since that whole experience and talking about it, I've had a couple of people who have just been like, if you need more, tell us what you need and we'll arrange to go and get it for you and stop leaving the house. But while that is super appreciated, I would never, ever, ever ask anybody else to put themselves at risk for me in a situation like this. Gene and I will figure it out. No matter how it seems, we're going to figure it out. Sure would be nice to see some of those folks in person. A lot of people you get to miss very quickly when you're sitting at home for a week. And Jane and I have got such great friends around here that I would just love to see once or twice. But I wouldn't want to hurt them if we're not okay, or their families, or any of that. So, this is when you just hunker down and say, that day will come. When Jean realized that we suddenly had a little spare time because she wasn't being brought into work anymore and all that. Our first reaction was, hey, wouldn't it be great to go down to Utah and see the kids? And we're like, a lot of people are probably having ideas like that right now. And that is the absolute worst possible idea that you can have, is to leave your zone, your area that you are in that is affected by you all the time, and go someplace that they might be fine and you might not be. Just a bad, bad plan. And we almost decided to mess that up. And then at the last second, we're like, wait a second, what are we doing? Are we going to become part of the problem? And suddenly the thought process turns around very quickly and you start realizing what you're putting other people into. The nightmare that you could actually bring upon another person is a real thing. Okay, I'm really, really liking the way this is coming out. I may have to do a bunch of dragon paintings for people. And you can ask me to do a dragon painting for you. That's one of the things that we're gearing up for here in the studio now that the weather is getting warmer, is doing custom dragon paintings for folks, or drawings, or whatever. The prices can vary. It starts at about $100 for a color pencil drawing, and like I said, something a little bit more advanced like this is closer to $250 to maybe $300 at this size. The 11 by 14s are my normal size. This one is a 16 by 20 because it's for my kid and she's awesome. And she gets special treatment But you could request that size, and I will make it happen. As long as I can still get supplies to make these things, and that I can't promise, because supply chains are starting to get a little weird, especially for things that aren't essential, and sadly enough, the things that I do is nowhere near as essential as like healthcare equipment, you know what I mean? But as long as I can keep getting it, I can keep doing these for you. I know a couple of you that are watching, or that will eventually be watching, because like I said, this isn't going out right away. It's waiting for a delivery before I can actually post it. That's not really live. But a couple of you that are going to be seeing this, I'm going to be interested in hearing if you have any take on the dragons that you're seeing. Because there's a few folks out there that I've talked to at great length about how the dragon interpretation works. And some of you are really starting to see how things work very clearly. So it would be great to get a couple of different people's input. Privately, please, nothing to be posted on this video or anything like that, because as we know, dragon readings are always very, very personal. The dragons know us better than anybody, and it is not our place to be giving out people's personal information just because a dragon let us know or we have figured stuff out. But yeah, if you want to send me a little private thing saying, hey, is this something that I'm seeing in this dragon? That's always welcome. Probably should have said that in the beginning of the video before anybody posted comments as it was going on. Oops. But I'm just getting started doing these. That'll become more of a given information as I do more of them. And I hope you guys are all enjoying this. It's starting to get to where it's the little tiny details, and it might become a little, I don't know, less dramatic to watch. And that beginning part was pretty big because a lot of stuff happened, and it became this whole couple of creatures thing. But at this point, we're starting to get into enough little tiny things that we maybe seeing less drama. I don't know how that is for other people. I love the details. I love getting in here and really making sure everything is understandable. And that could just be the art brain thing. I don't know. You guys like the details? You can tell me. You can let the secret out that the details are actually fun. if that's the case. If not, you can tell me that too. And, oh, by the way, I stopped watching your video when I couldn't really tell what was going on anymore, and that's totally understandable too. I would actually love to know how that works. Like, do the details show up on the video, or is it really hard to see? Of course, I'm going to be going back and watching this afterwards and seeing what I can see from it, but I was here doing it, so what I see is probably going to be different from what you see. Yeah, just let me know. I'm also going to see what I can do about maybe having a different lighting setup next time, because didn't realize when I was getting started that this light, while it's fantastic to work with in the studio, is maybe less fantastic on the video. And if anybody knows of, because I have piles of people in my friends group who know their stuff when it comes to video production, if anybody knows of a better light that I should be using for photographing shiny things, because I have a feeling I'm going to do more of these that are shiny, because this has been, I'm loving the effect. It's just beautiful. But photographing shiny stuff seems a little bit complicated. And I went into this not being completely aware of how complicated it was going to be. So if you have insight, I could really use it. I would love to know what is a better way to handle this. Because people photograph shiny stuff all the time. So there's got to be a system to do that well. Maybe the system is figure out your angles, Rob. That's entirely possible too. And if that's the case, let me know. I mean, feel free to correct me if I have kind of messed this up, or however you see it, because I want to be able to do this well for everybody, and I think that people will like seeing the process. I mean, I love watching the painting tutorial videos and stuff like that myself. I watch more of them than I probably require, but they're very soothing to me. I get into that, and helps me de-stress. Just kind of why I'm doing this is because I think we all got to de-stress a little bit. But if I can improve them, I would really love to do that for you. this point, I'm using a really, really thin brush. And I'm kind of scrubbing this canvas a little bit with it, which is never a good idea. Except I'm working under a time constraint. And time constraints mean sometimes you break the rules. You don't want to scrub your canvas with a thin brush unless you have plenty of thin brushes to spare. And luckily, brushes aren't something I'm going to need really soon in the future to replace, because I have a ton of brushes. I've been kind of hoarding brushes for the past year or two, and it's not like there was a huge demand for them, so I don't feel terribly bad like it's not toilet paper or something. But I have enough that I'm not too worried about the ones that I may mess up because of doing timed videos. Okay, I wonder if that will help with the... Maybe I need to adjust the angle of my easel next time. I could be working with it like this, and it would be maybe a little bit more easy to see. I don't know. Who knows? Okay. Just as a experimentum, I'm going to throw a block of some sort behind the canvas. If I find a cardboard box or something that I can stick back there. Ha! My studio is full of stuff. Alright, so I'm going to throw this box back here and hang it off of the thing on the top. And careful not to poke against the canvas. I wonder how that will look on the film, on the video. Oh, okay, I think that's a little better. We'll give it a try. Let's see how it goes. It's all an experiment. I swear, next time I'm gonna have this so set up, it's gonna be awesome. Okay. Hansa Yellow, opaque. Hansa Yellow is one of my favorites. We're good friends. Oh my gosh, that sounded so Bob Ross just now. Sorry, I'm not trying to steal anyone's thunder there. Bob. Sorry, man. But yeah, I love throwing a little of this and all the highlights with some white. Get it in there, get it good and bright, and everything kind of glows a little more afterwards. So let's see if we can make this happen. And part of why I like doing this on the dragon drawings and paintings and what have you is it feels like that to me when I see them. It feels like there's a warm kind of a light in that world all the time. Even when a dragon has a sort of a coldness about it for whatever reason, that happens. Doesn't always mean anything particularly bad about the person, but it can be a sign of something. But even when that happens, there's still this feeling of like a golden luminous effect in their world. I'm always noticing. And I try to show that on the drawings. When I'm working on a white page, sometimes that can be a little tricky. That's one of the things I'm kind of like really digging about doing the paintings on the black, is that kind of a world background glow. I can get that in there a little bit. Our world has a background glow in the daytime, and it's kind of blue. And the reason why, and at least this is my theory, I have light theory and stuff, I get the impression there's a little bit of blue and shadows in our world because the sky is blue. So when we get shadows in our normal day-to-day life, it's based on the ambient color around the light source. And the light source being the sun, the ambient color around the light source is the sky being blue around it, right? So I think, again, didn't learn in college, probably should have. I'm sure there's like people out there that are like, well, yeah, Rob, duh. But I think the whole reason for that purpley bluish kind of shadow is that the sky is basically this indigo color up above us, and it sort of suffuses everything in a little bit of light on top of what's the sunlight is. And in the dragon world, it's almost like, I mean, I don't really see their sky. I see the dragons. I don't really see a lot of other stuff in their world generally. Although, my friend David gave me a crystal once in Montana, and it lets me see in their world, and that's a sight. It's a little trippy. I don't do that very often because it's kind of overwhelming. But I think there's something about their worlds kind of, I don't know if you want to call it light or just that background glow that it has, that's a little bit yellow, a little bit golden. I want to say yellow, but I also kind of want to say like yellow ochre, like that gold color that you get from yellow ochre. It's a little like that. And it's pretty. It reminds me of the desert, sort of. But it's funny because it's the only thing about their world that reminds me of their desert. The rest of their world is almost like colors that you would see if you were looking at a blacklight painting or something. There's a... I mean, to say an unearthliness about it seems kind of ridiculous and redundant, because, yeah, of course it's unearthly. But it's like colors that don't normally happen in our world, but can. Like, we can put radiation into the world that's different from light, or like black light, things like that, that will inspire those colors to appear. You see like neon green and neon blue and stuff like that. Those aren't like really the kinds of colors that naturally occur in nature on a normal basis. At least not the neon colors that you see under a black light. Like, yeah, you can find neon orange and pink paint and all that, but you can't get the same effect with those without the black light radiation, that ultraviolet radiation that pops it out. And that's a lot of what I have seen in their world. It's also partly why I try to give them a level of iridescence that's a little beyond what we normally see, is because in their reality, that's how everything is. But for the most part, I kind of like that I don't normally see into their world, because I think that would just make me blind pretty quickly. And my buddy David sees in there all the time, and he's kind of learned to get used to it. But he doesn't think like everybody else. He's a step ahead of that. So, I mean, we are all different, and we all have a different level of understanding the dragons. Some of us have very little, some of us have just enough, some of us have a lot, and sometimes it gets in the way of regular daily life. We all just have to navigate that the best we can. I've often told people it's kind of great that I have to do something consciously to see these guys, because otherwise I'd be driving down the road and the road would be full, because everybody's got a dragon and all of the drivers would be showing me theirs, and it would get very overwhelming to me very quickly, I suspect. Okay, a little bit there. The other thing that's been interesting about this is I don't do a lot of canvas painting. A lot of the paintings I do are on boards. And I'm kind of liking the fact that the canvas forces me to deal with some stuff. That's takes me out of my comfort zone again. It's like, the whole painting backwards takes you out of your comfort zone. Well, canvas takes me out of my comfort zone because I'm not used to it squishing in. I'm not used to it grabbing a hold quite so much. It takes hold of that brush and pulls the paint off of it, which I imagine for a lot of artists is exactly why they like painting in canvas. But throws me a little bit because everything that I do on the boards happens so smoothly and evenly, and this is like I do it my way. I take what I want on this canvas. Well, not me. It takes what it wants. And I just have to kind of come to terms with that. But it's cool because, it is getting the feel of the dragon really, really closely. The dragons. There are more than one of them here. All right. So I'm kind of digging this. What do you think? I think it's time to put a name on here. All right. Oh yeah. Also, there's a board behind the canvas, or a piece of cardboard that's messing with me. Okay, that was funny. Didn't expect that to move quite so much. Have to be more aware. I've also made a mess out of my white paint. More white. It's okay, I need more anyway. It's time to order some white paint, I think. See what I'm doing. I have no idea how long that took. This should be interesting to see. Luckily, my camera is still recording. That's also a good sign. I always wonder if I'm going to run out of memory before I run out of paint. Didn't seem to happen this time, which is awesome. I'm going to call this a qualified success. I think you were all able to watch most of it, if not all of it. And the dragons look like the dragons they're supposed to look, which is perfect. And it's starting to get cold out here. So I'm going to get out of my studio and back into my much warmer house. And that's only, it's like 59, 60 degrees in here right now. I'm going to work with a sweater on or something like that and have it rubbing onto the canvas and making a big mess and getting much more colorful than I wanted the sweater to be. So, yeah, like I said, we do what we got to do for art. If it's cold, it's cold. Whatever. Keep painting. Keep painting. That's the rule. So, thank you for hanging out with me and doing this. And I will see you next time I get a chance to get on this video thing and we're going to paint another thing. I don't know. Anybody got any ideas of what they'd like to see me paint? Dragons are easy, but it doesn't have to be dragons. It can be other stuff. I am happy to do painting videos for you guys. If you're interested, don't forget to like and subscribe, because that's how YouTube works. If you want to see the stuff I do, you gotta like the videos and subscribe to them. Otherwise, I can't keep doing them. All right. Thank you all. Be safe. Be healthy. I'll see you again soon.